Let's have a look on National Poliomyelitis Eradication Program. The Government of India launched expanded program of immunization in the year 1978. During 1985, the EPI expanded program of immunization was upgraded into Universal Immunization Program by concentrating immunization services to infants as well as pregnant mothers. During May 1988, World Health Assembly passed a resolution to achieve the goal of global eradication of poliomyelitis by the year 2000, which was the second landmark in the field of immunization we can consider. So accordingly, Government of India also had to set the goal of eradication of poliomyelitis by the year 2000. During 1992, Government of India upgraded the the maternal and child health services into a national program, that is CSSM, Child Survival and Safe Motherhood Program, and set the goal of eradication of poliomyelitis under the primary immunization of child survival component of this CSSM program by 100% coverage of infants with routine immunization. During December 1995, Government of India introduced a strategy which is called Pulse Polio Immunization Program, complemented by acute flaccid paralysis AFP surveillance activity during 1997, and also mop-up round of immunization. So basically the government of India has committed to sustain and maintain these massive efforts until the wild polio virus is eliminated from the nature. Now we'll see the strategies of polio eradication which were uh, followed by government of India to eradicate the poliomyelitis from the India. First strategy is routine immunization, second is supplementary immunization, and acute flaccid paralysis surveillance. We'll see all the strategies one by one. First one is routine immunization. Now we all are very much aware about routine immunization which has been followed in all India. Okay, so under routine immunization, we know that we are giving OPV and IPV. So this is the immunization of all infants with 4 doses of OPV in all the hospitals and primary health centers as a routine during 6th, 10th and 14th week with 0 dose at birth. So we are giving 4 doses of OPV in routine immunization. Such coverage of routine immunization among infants must be sustained and maintained at a high level of 100%. Why? Because unimmunized children maintain the foci of infection. Again, they are vulnerable for transmission of disease. So, high level of immunization coverage will not only reduce the incidence of poliomyelitis to a very low level, but it will also set a stage for eradication of poliomyelitis. So, countries which are polio free must also continue to maintain a high level of routine immunization coverage to protect themselves against importation of poliovirus. So, no nation will be free of poliomyelitis until all the countries in the world become free. By 1996, around 150 countries became polio free. Now we will see what is supplementary immunization. Supplementary immunization has three main components. Under that, pulse polio immunization, subnational immunization, and mop-up immunization. Now we will see what is pulse polio immunization. This concept, this pulse polio immunization concept was introduced by Government of India during 1995. The term pulse itself denotes sudden, simultaneous, and mass administration of OPV to all under 5 children in the entire country with 100% coverage with 2 doses of OPV and each of 2 drops with the 6 weeks of intervals on the indicated days, that is polio Sundays, during the lowest transmission seasons, which are October to February, irrespective of the previous polio immunization status. So these indicated dates are called as National Immunization Days. Now, these days are only supplementary and not substitutes to the routine immunization. Okay, so whatever OPV we are giving under the pulse polio immunization program, they are not the substitute dose of OPV comes under the routine immunization, but they are additional dose we are giving to the under 5 children rather than routine immunization. So there is no minimal interval between the routine immunization and pulse polio immunization. That means even if the child had received routine OPV on the previous day of PPI, that is Friday or Saturday, the but the child has to be given PPI dose on uh, Sunday. Okay, so there are no any contraindications for PPI. This concept of PPI came into watch because in spite of very good coverage of routine immunization under UIP, that is Universal Immunization Program, a small percentage of children are not covered. So they can act as a reservoir. Since it is not possible to identify the small percentage of unimmunized children, it was recommended by Government of India that there must be a 100% coverage of all under 5 children on a particular day, that is Polio Sunday, so that not even a single unimmunized gut should be available to the polio virus. To start with, during 1995, it was only one day booth activity previously, and the target age was fixed up to 3 years. But in the next year, 1996, the target age was extended up to 5 years. So, Government of India has committed to maintain this task until the wild virus, polio virus, is eliminated from the nature and the disease is eradicated. If we see the mechanism of poliovirus, we know that the poliovirus can remain alive outside the human body for several days to several weeks, but cannot multiply. Okay, so for the virus to multiply and continue its pregnancy, it has to pass through an unimmunized gut within 48 hours of its excretion. We know that. But since there is 100% coverage of under 5 on PPI days, not even a single unimmunized gut is available. The poliovirus cannot multiply and dies on its own in a natural way. Thus, the PPI helps in the replacement of wild poliovirus by vaccine pregnancy virus and thus in the eradication of poliomyelitis. However, PPI will be effective only if there is high level of routine immunization coverage of more than 85%, preferably 100%. So, with the concept of PPI, there was reduction in the incidence of poliomyelitis, but that was not that much satisfactory level. So there were continuous outbreaks of poliomyelitis. In spite of PPI, pulse polio immunization, many children were missed on PPI day. So Government of India again intensified this PPI program during 1999 from one day booth activity to 3 days program and called as intensified pulse polio immunization program. So it was intensified in order to detect and immunize the missed and eligible children, okay, who were not immunized in the booth on the first day of the program. To detect what we are doing to detect the missed and eligible children, all the children who got OPV on the first day at the booth, they are marked with gentian violet on the little finger. So it become an extra effort to reach the unreached children. What we are doing on second day? On second day, house to house visit is made by the health worker and they will mark X for those houses which were locked. Okay, the houses locked were marked as a X. Now, then who were not cooperative or target child is not having gentian violet mark on that little finger, we will mark P for those houses. Okay, where the target children are immunized or target children are not available. So on the third day, visit is made only for those houses marked X and immunize the missed and eligible children and mark the little finger with gentian violet. Wipe off the X mark, convert that X into P. That means the child has immunized now. So with intensified pulse polio immunization program, there was a drastic reduction in the incidence of poliomyelitis in the country from 1999 to 2001. Okay, this is pulse polio immunization. Now we'll see what is subnational immunization. So, during 2002, there was a setback of poliomyelitis. A large number of polio cases were reported from North India. There was widespread and dispersed transmission. So the program was further intensified from 2 rounds of immunization during December and January to 4 rounds from October, November, December to January. Each round with 3 days activity, and called it as sub-national immunization. Means extra immunization carried out in sub part of the country. These days are called as sub-national immunization days. The very purpose of the intensified of the program is not to miss any child for OPV and to cover 100% immunization. With pulse polio and subnational immunization, there was remarkable decline in the incidence of poliomyelitis in the country by 2005. Subsequently, during 2006, there was setback of poliomyelitis in some states. Okay, and in spite of 4 rounds of subnational immunization, the number of cases were reported. So there were some barriers. We can consider some barriers identified for increase in the number of cases. Such barriers are technical barriers like limitation of vaccine itself. Okay, then association conditions in the children such as malnutrition, diarrheal disease, enterovirus infections, these all are interfering with the vaccines, so that is considered as technical barrier. Then other barriers, if you'll see, that is administrative barrier, which includes maintenance of cold chain. If cold chain was not properly maintained, then failure of vaccine vial monitoring, VVM, as a surrogate marker of the vaccine potency. Then social barriers like gender bias, caste, parda system. Also, these are or limited the acceptance of vaccines. Then cultural barriers were the which has various myths and blind beliefs regarding the immunization. Okay, if we see the demographic barriers, which are poverty, illiteracy, then ignorance of immunization, indifferent attitude towards immunization, migration of population, etc., we can consider as barriers. Because of these barriers, the number of poliomyelitis has been increased. So to overcome these barriers, some expert groups recommended some 6 national immunization days and 9 subnational immunization days. Since there was nothing wrong with the quality of the vaccine, some measures were recommended. Which kind of measures? Like to focus on better conversion of X-mark houses, to consistently vaccinate the children, to effectively improve the microplans, to improve IEC activities and BCC activities and social mobilization, to make senior officers accountable for their areas, to maintain high level of AFP surveillance, then to use Salk vaccine, that is IPV, in the routine immunization, to use bivalent vaccines. Okay, these measures there, because of these measures, there was remarkable decline in the incidence of poliomyelitis in India. So that is subnational immunization. Now we will see mop up immunization. Okay, so mop up means closing up. If we want to closing up something, that is known as mop up round, that is closing off. It was felt during 1999 that there was more than 85% immunization coverage in the country, and not even a single case of polio is expected. So if at all, if any case is expected, any case is occurred, case of poliomyelitis occur in an area where immunization coverage is more than 85, it is considered as epidemic of poliomyelitis and is a public health emergency. Okay, it will declare as public health emergency in that particular area. So if one single case is occur, the medical officer of that area should immediately notify the concerned district immunization officer. Okay, and carry out containment measures as a firefighting action on war footstep. Okay, within 48 hours of reporting of the case. How? By immunizing all under 5 children within 5 kilometer radius of that infected house in the rural area, or about 2000 to 3000 children in the urban area, irrespective of their immunization status, with 2 rounds of OPV with 4 weeks of intervals. So this is called as mop-up round of immunization, or also known as outbreak response immunization, because one single case is considered as an outbreak or epidemic, and we have to do, medical officer have to do some measures, have to take steps to immunize the children. Okay, so meanwhile, active search is also made to detect other AFP cases also, if there are any. Okay, AFP cases are generally considered as suspected case of poliovirus. Okay, so this is mop-up round. Then third strategy is acute flaccid paralysis surveillance, that is AFP surveillance. Now, AFP means sudden onset of flaccid paralysis of the limb, generally of lower motor neuron type, of 4 weeks duration. Okay, in a child below 15 years of age with a loss of tone and deep tendon reflexes, and the limb is fluffy or flaccid without sensory loss. So, such AFP cases are not only due to poliomyelitis but also due to Guillain-Barré syndrome or transverse myelitis or traumatic neuritis. So thus all AFP cases are not polio, but all polio cases are AFP cases. That is why the AFP surveillance is very much important. So surveillance means case detection. Okay. So AFP surveillance means detection, reporting, and investigation of all AFP cases, and not just only polio cases. So in other words, AFP surveillance means surveillance for suspected or possible polio case. Okay, so AFP surveillance is an activity introduced during 1997 to detect the last case or final reservoir of poliomyelitis, so as to enable to declare the country as polio free if zero incidence is maintained for 3 consecutive years from the date of detection of last case. So it is like a manhunt for poliovirus. This is a greatest challenge to health system to detect the last case of polio. It is being conducted by a network of surveillance medical officers. Okay. Now, which are the objectives for acute flaccid paralysis surveillance? The objectives are to identify the high risk area. Through the surveillance, we can find out the high risk area of poliovirus myelitis. Then to focus immunization in those high risk areas. If we find out the high risk area, we have to focus on immunization. We have to immunize all the under 5 children. Then to certify the country as a polio free. Now, which area we can consider as high risk area? So, high risk area is one where a case of poliomyelitis has been reported during the last 1 year, right? Then the living conditions are very poor with overcrowding, then where the sanitation, surveillance activity, or the immunization services are really very poor. These all the areas are considered as a high risk area, and we have to immunize all under 5 children by OPV. Now, which types of AFP surveillance are there? There are basically two types of surveys are there. First one is routine surveillance. So routine surveillance means immediate reporting or immediate notification of a case of AFP in a child below 15 years of age to district immunization officer by a healthcare personnel. Okay, then district immunization officer will in turn inform the surveillance medical officer, who will in turn inform to the national surveillance center. Suppose AFP case does not occur, and then also the medical officer of primary health center has to send the report as zero case every week. Okay, every week zero case reporting should be there. This is called zero reporting. Thus, the routine surveillance is a continuous ongoing activity. Okay, zero reporting is as much important as case reporting, because these assure that surveillance activity is still going on. Okay, then second surveillance type is active surveillance. This is done by a designated person, okay, from a department of health, who makes weekly visits to the department of pediatrics and neurology to inquire about new AFP cases. Okay, so these two types of surveillance we are doing for the AFP surveillance: routine surveillance and active surveillance. Now we will see the components of AFP surveillance. Okay, especially which components are covered under the AFP surveillance are investigation of AFP cases, line listing, and reporting. Now, what is investigation of an AFP case? This consists of sending two stool specimens, each of 8 to 10 grams, which were collected at least 24 hours apart within 14 days of onset of paralysis. When this sample should be collected? Within 14 days of onset of paralysis to WHO accredited laboratory in a good condition. We have to send that samples to the laboratory which were WHO accredited in a very good condition. What is the meaning of good condition? It should be in a special screw cap bottle. Then there should be no leakage, no desiccation, with adequate documentation and in reverse cold chain. Okay, why we are sending it? For the isolation of the poliovirus. Okay, no preservatives or transport media should be used. Special stool specimen carries have been provided to districts for this purpose. Okay, if the case is clinically suspected. Now, after collection of this, if the case is clinically suspected and virus is not isolated for a variety of reasons, such as inadequate specimen. Okay, the specimen should be of 8 to 10 grams, but that con- uh, there is no 8 to 10 grams, but in less amount, then sample will become dried, cold chain was not maintained properly, etc. So such cases is called as compatible case. Okay, so it is neither confirmed nor discharged as poliomyelitis case. So such a compatible case will be reviewed by an expert committee consisting this expert committee consisting of pediatrician, one virologist will be there, and one neurologist. These all will follow up the case for 60 days, and then after they will decide whether to confirm or discard as polio case. Okay, so this is investigation of AFP cases. This is how the AFP cases were investigated. Then line listing. Line listing consists of recording the related data of an AFP case in a prescribed performa. Okay, which this performa provides the information such as name of the case, then age of the case, sex, address, immunization status, date of onset of paralysis, then clinical findings, name of the reporting officer with his contact number and address. Then it is sent to the district immunization officer. Okay, now we are, why we are doing this line listing, why these all the informations are necessary? Because this line listing will helps in avoiding the duplication of the case, then follow up of the case. It helps in detection of only fresh case, then it will help in identification of high risk area, then help in implementation of containment measures. Okay, so line listing is important. Then finally, reporting. All AFP cases must be reported to a concerned district immunization officers by a quickest possible means by healthcare personnel, who in turn will inform the state surveillance officer, and they will inform to the national surveillance center. So even ever since the battle against poliomyelitis was begun since 1970, today India is free from all three types of viruses. Type 2 virus was first to be eliminated during October 1999, then type 3 virus during 2010. The year 2011 has been very crucial for polio eradication, as we got only one case of poliomyelitis. The last and the lowest ever recorded was on January 13, 2011. when the stool sample showed that 18 months old girl uh, that is having polio. So thus India appeared to have achieved this task. Since then the incidence of polio is zero in India. Okay, if only zero incidence is maintained for 3 consecutive years, India will be certified as polio-free country, a greatest public health achievement. Since February 2013, India is no longer considered as endemic to polio status. It had harbored with the 3 other nations. Okay, these are Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Nigeria. Okay, so uh, because but still we need to be more vigilant, as there is a constant threat for its spread, because poliomyelitis can be re-emerged. So community participation is the need of the hour. So it remains the chief cornerstone still. Okay, but the end game strategy consists of, in India still the end game strategies are considering of for the eradication of poliomyelitis. Those are social mobilization, introduction of IPV in the routine immunization, then continuously we are following sensitive surveillance, mop up rounds of immunization, then to stop OPV administration from 2019 to 2020. We must continue our commitment to eradicate the poliomyelitis and look forward for a day when no child will be killed or crippled by poliovirus. So, polio eradication is really considered as a important landmark achievement for India. Ever since we know that the battle against poliomyelitis has begun since 1970, some major challenges were faced by government of India, like immunization of around 172 millions under 5 children population twice a year, then high density of population, insanitary living conditions, lack of safe drinking water, malnutrition interfering with the development of immunity, then diarrheal disease interfering with the uptake of vaccines. So, in addition to these challenges, the vaccine efficacy of the trivalent OPV was highest for type 2 virus and lowest for type 1 and 3. So, type 2 virus was first to be eliminated during October, and then type 3 virus during 2010. The as previously I had said that the year 2011 has been very crucial for polio eradication, as we got the last case of poliomyelitis. Okay, so on February 25, 2012, the WHO deleted the name of India from the list of polio endemic countries, leaving the other 3 countries. So, after 3 consecutive calendar years of zero incidence of polio since 2011, India was declared as polio free on March 2014, on 27th of March, which, which is a momentous victory for the millions of workers who have worked for this achievement, especially under this pulse polio immunization and subnational polio immunization programs. Although India is polio free, the threat of re-emergence and reinfection due to polio virus remain at the large due to importation of virus from any of 3 endemic countries. So India is in the state of emergency preparedness to respond urgently to any importation. Okay, we need to be more vigilant now. So, Government of India has made polio vaccination a prerequisite for travelers of endemic countries coming to India to mitigate important risks. So, administration of 1 dose of IPV together with third dose of OPV during 14th week in routine immunization is not only safe but also provides additional strong and best protection to child and prevents re-emergence and reinfection to poliovirus, ensuring acceleration polio eradication in the world. Since pentavalent vaccine is also due during 14th week, OPV is given orally. IPV is in the right thigh and pentavalent vaccine is in the left thigh simultaneously. So it is safe to give multiple vaccines simultaneously but at different sites. Okay, so The polio eradication program is a model of excellence for the other public health initiatives in India. We must continue our commitment to eradicate poliomyelitis and look forward for a day when no child will be killed or crippled by poliovirus. So this is the National Poliomyelitis Eradication Program. Hope this video will find helpful to you. In next videos we will see other programs related to communicable disease, non-communicable disease, as well as programs, other programs. Okay, thank you.